The video that I released last week created quite a stir and got way more comments than really any video that I have put out since the video that I put out about my deconstruction that kind of ended up shaping the direction that this channel was going to go to begin with. And so I wanted to make this video kind of breaking down some points, discussing some points, and clarifying some things from that video, because as much as I'd love to engage in every individual comment with everybody, I simply can't. I simply don't have time to have giant threads of conversations with 50 different people. So I hope that this video will address some of those points, clarify some things. Firstly, I just want to say that I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all the engagement. I appreciate how passionate everybody is, how some people took a long time to write out these very elaborate, very in-depth comments. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that my video stirred something up in you and that you took the time to engage with it. I mean, that's ultimately why I do what I do, is I want engagement. I want to create conversation, even if it is tense conversation, or even if we maybe strongly disagree with each other. Now, I am doing my best, even if I can't reply to them, to at least read every comment. And so feel free to keep them coming on that video, on this video, and just in general on my channel. I love the comments, and even if I don't have a chance to reply to it, there's a very good chance that I have read it and am digesting what you had to say. This may kind of jump around a lot because a lot of people had a lot of different points, so I do apologize if this is a little bit of a disjointed video. So the first thing that I want to say is I actually shot and edited that video back in August of 2022. So it's not necessarily my most recent thoughts. For good or evil, I decided to post it, and many of the points in it I do still hold on to, even if I have somewhat evolved in my thinking. Hopefully I'm a little bit more eloquent than I was in that video. So do keep that in mind as we go through this video and as you check out that video if you haven't seen it. That said, though, I definitely do stand by a lot of the major points that I made in that video. One of those main points that I still do hold is that I think that prayer is a waste of time. I think that prayer is an incredible cop-out and an excuse for many Christians, not all Christians, but many Christians, not to take action, not to do anything, just to sit and pray. And I know that got a lot of backlash, and I can understand, because I used to believe that prayer was incredibly powerful, and I spent many hours in prayer. I'd go off in the woods. I would pray for hours for people in my life, for world events, for my own self to know Christ more. And so I get it. I get why it's upsetting to people for someone to say that I don't think that prayer is a good use of time, and I think that it's used as an excuse by people. And again, that's not to say all Christians. I know from the comments that many Christians strongly believe in taking action, and many Christians do take positive, powerful action to improve the world. And you guys, I appreciate you. I appreciate Christians who donate to worthy causes. I appreciate Christians who, get your hands dirty, helping the poor, helping, bring clean water to places, doing missions that actually help people in practical ways. All of that stuff I applaud. I still agree with, even though I no longer am a Christian. But I do still think that it is a major problem, people who just sit and pray and don't take action. Prayer can act as a placebo, and this has been scientifically studied in the same way that people test new medications. They'll give a control group sugar pills, and they will give another group the actual medication. And sometimes the people who get the sugar pills, their symptoms improve. And sometimes prayer works like that. Sometimes people do get better. They do feel better. Their depression does improve because of what's going on in their mind when they pray. So that's not to say necessarily that prayer, for yourself, to comfort yourself, doesn't work on some level. But It's not going to cure world hunger. It's not going to end wars. It's not going to give people clean water. It's not going to cure disease. That's things that is going to take actual action by people moving forward. I also got quite a few comments telling me that I have no right to judge anybody as an atheist because I don't have a objective moral standard, because I don't believe in a God. However, this is something that I might address in another video in more depth. But simply, I want to say here that as a member of the human race, as somebody who has an interest in seeing the world continue, seeing the human race continue, seeing people and animals continue to thrive and flourish as much as possible, I don't need an objective morality to have a morality, to have a worldview, to have an opinion. Just because I do not believe in your God does not mean that I suddenly have no opinion and no right to make any kind of judgments. There can be morality without a, quote, objective morality. And while I'm not going to get into it heavily, Christian morality has evolved over the centuries. There was a time when slavery was permitted, when slavery was even approved of within large circles of Christianity, and then that changed. There have been many reformations, there have been many different sects, there have been many different people who have different opinions on what God's morality actually is in many ways. And I know that you guys will say, well, they're not the true Christians if they don't agree with my morality, but the reality of the situation is that even within Christianity, there is not objective moral truth. And even if you look at the history of the Bible, if you look at Yahweh, you can see how Yahweh's morality changes and evolves from the beginning of Genesis to Revelation. And again, I might get into that more in a dedicated video in the future, but that's simply the uncomfortable reality that if you read the Bible cover to cover with an open mind and an objective look at it, you see. I would definitely consider myself somewhat in the Sam Harris realm of morality. Like, my personal views of morality align very much with him, much more than a more nihilistic worldview or something like that. I do believe that there is value in the world, there's value in people, there's value in nature, there's value in animals. It doesn't have to be an objective and eternal value, but there is a value in it. And some of that value is just that it's impermanent. We don't get this forever. It doesn't last forever and ever. And we somehow are here now to experience this, to enjoy this, and to do what we can to make that experience better for others. And that's my personal morality. If it doesn't fit with your idea of what an atheist should be, deal with it. Like, you just got to deal with that atheists are not a monolith. There are atheists who are more nihilistic. There are atheists who believe that there is purpose and that life is beautiful. And, we are not a religion. We don't have a set of doctrines. So we're all going to think different things. And that is the beauty of it, is we don't have to have a doctrine. I also do want to clarify, and I did this in the actual video, but I want to really emphasize it here because a lot of people did not seem to necessarily grasp it in the comments, that the vast majority of my experience is with Reformed, Calvinist, evangelical Christians, specifically the Evangelical Presbyterian Church, as well as some different non-denominational churches. And they all very, very much were of the Calvinistic, the predestination, that God has chosen those he has chosen, and he's condemned those he has condemned before the beginning of the world. And, I can go into a video on that. I know I had people tell me I don't understand Calvinism. Believe me, I was raised in it. I do quite understand Calvinism, so I can definitely make a video on it. Do know that most of my perspective is coming from that sect of Christianity. I'm not nearly as familiar with Catholicism or Orthodoxy or many of the non-reformed Protestant denominations, the more free will types of Christianity I'm not as familiar with and have not touched base with as much. So a lot of my critiques of Christianity are going to be much more specific to the Calvinist kind of mindset, because that's what I know, that's what I experienced. And I do not mind you guys educating me. I actually appreciate you guys educating me that not all Christians necessarily think that way, because there are elements of Christianity that I don't realize that different Christians have such different views on, because as with every Christian denomination, you're taught that your doctrines are the doctrines, and you don't necessarily realize that Christians in other denominations think completely differently about many different things. So do know that, and I do appreciate all of the comments who are educating me about, well, Catholics believe this or Orthodox believe this, or there's these types of doctrines in these non-denominational churches, or the Lutherans think this, or the Methodists think this. All that kind of stuff is very helpful, actually, and it gives me some hope finding out that not everyone is necessarily thinking the same way that the churches that I grew up in think. But I do hold that all Christians do cherry pick and do emphasize certain parts of the Bible and de-emphasize and ignore other parts of the Bible. It's human nature. It's literally, the Bible is thick. Like, it's a thick book. And there's no way that you could hold all of it in your mind unless you just have an amazing photographic memory and have nothing to do with your life except literally memorize the scriptures cover to cover. And so it's only natural. Like, I've read the Bible through multiple times in my life cover to cover, and there's huge swaths of it that I don't remember. There's huge swaths of it that I'd go, what? That's in the Bible? Holy moly. And there's things that stuck out to me. There's, doctrines that stuck out to me. But I resonate very much with the kind of the social justice aspect of Jesus and his ministry, as basically, like I talked about in that video, I've talked about in other videos. That's the part of my Christianity that I still very much appreciate, even though I'm no longer a Christian, and feel like I actually did some good and there was some value in. And there's other parts of Christianity that I'm much less crazy about, don't even think about, doctrines that I don't pay as much attention to. And then, like, as a Calvinist, I'm very, very in tune with a lot of Paul's letters, what Paul had to say, and less in tune with some of the, doctrines and writers and things that point more towards a people can choose whether they get saved or not kind of mentality versus like God's already figured it all out sort of mindset. But all that to say, literally nobody can follow all of it. I know I got some comments that said true Christians can follow all of it and fake Christians cherry pick. I'm sorry to tell you, literally everybody, even you, even me, we all cherry pick things based on our experience, based on what kind of denomination we were raised in, and just based on our own like personalities. We have parts of Christianity or any faith or non-faith that really resonate with us and that don't resonate with us. And that's okay. That is normal. That is to be human. And it's not something to be ashamed of or condemn about. It's just something to know about ourselves and know, we have biases, we have things that, matter to us more than others, and that, you're going to disagree with other Christians about, as well as with atheists and Muslims and Buddhists, etc., etc. There are even a lot of Christians who acknowledge that the Bible is not infallible, that the Bible is not perfect, that there are errors in it, that there are translation errors, that there are textual errors, there are copy errors, there are errors when the New Testament writers wrote from a Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament. There are mistakes that they made there. There are, There are complexities, there are areas where different authors disagreed with each other and had different viewpoints. And, all of that literally makes it impossible to follow every single tenet of the Bible because there are ones that contradict each other. And again, that's okay. Like, I respect Christians who are comfortable saying, yeah, there are weird stuff in the Bible, some things that don't really make sense together. And, we can accept that this maybe isn't the absolute perfect book. It's an imperfect book pointing to a perfect God. You know, that's a position that I can respect even if I don't agree with it. I'm well aware that I have not tackled probably even like a third of things that were addressed in all of the comments in this video, so please feel free to keep leaving comments. Please leave comments responding to this video, and if you enjoy this, please consider subscribing. I'd love to continue having engagement on and discussing these things. I hope that everybody has a fantastic day.